Welcome back to Gundam HQ. Today we're going to be discussing the Gusion Rebake DLC and whether or not it's worth picking up. Gusion Rebake is a 300 cost unit with two different modes, normal and aiming. In normal mode, Gusion has better melee options and overall has superior mobility. Aiming mode is much more focused on using your ranged weapons. However, unfortunately the suit is less maneuverable in this mode. In exchange for that, aiming mode receives an increased redlock range compared to its normal mode, though the distance really isn't too significant. And there are other differences we'll cover later. First off, Gusion has its main gun. It fires physical shots, meaning that the bolts can be destroyed if they hit something before they hit the target. It does also struggle with a low ammo count. Next we have Gusion's cannons, which when fired in normal mode stop the player in place when firing. However, in aiming mode, it makes slight movements in the direction the player was moving before firing. Gusion is also able to throw his axe to stun enemies upon hitting them. After stunning them, the player can act as they so choose. Next we have its charge shot. In normal mode, it charges in 3 seconds, which is faster than aiming mode. Though when firing, the shot has a longer startup time, and the projectile also flies much slower. Aiming mode, in exchange for charging slower, fires the shot faster overall, making it much better for punishing distanced opponents. And unfortunately, charging in one mode and then switching to the other cancels the charge shot, meaning that charging faster in normal mode and then switching for a better shot in aiming mode is impossible. In normal mode, Gusion receives somewhat average melee attacks. However, one of his better abilities is when he changes packs mid-melee combo and activates a high speed and damaging attack instead, making sure the player is in normal mode at the end. It also has a melee counter, meaning that if the player is hit with a melee attack while in this animation, he will cancel their attack and hit them instead. In aiming mode, it only has one melee attack and the counter. However, just like in normal mode, switching packs mid-melee attack swaps into his hard-hitting special melee. Its super does a fair amount of damage and ends with the player being swapped from whatever mode they were in into normal mode. The Gusion Striker fires cannon shots that track decently well, and the Striker has up to 3 uses. For unlockables, the only new things Gusion adds is his Striker and titles, though it does allow you to unlock the Strikers and an emblem from Iron Blooded Orphans if you haven't already. Overall, I would unfortunately have to say that I do not recommend picking up this mobile suit. While the suit has some interesting design choices that could have led to a great unit, they were executed poorly this time around. The mode switching strengthens its ranged or close-up attacks, however these upgrades aren't good enough to make up for the other abilities' decrease in quality. On top of that, Gusion doesn't add anything new in terms of unlockables besides the basic titles and his Striker. That doesn't mean Gusion Rebake wasn't fun to play around with at least. Learning when to switch packs and landing that punishing charge shot in aiming mode felt great, but in the end, the suit simply gets outperformed by most other characters in the game. I'm glad to see that Iron Blooded Orphans is receiving more representation. However, there is no real reason to purchase this particular unit unless you're a fan of Akihiro or Iron Blooded Orphans. As I said, this suit definitely had potential to be something really unique. However, that potential was never fully achieved, and we were left with a suit that unfortunately struggles to compare to other 300 cost units. But hey, maybe Akihiro and Gusion will have a second chance if they ever release Gusion Rebake Full City. How are you feeling about Gusion Rebake so far? Are there other characters from Iron Blooded Orphans that you would have wanted to see instead? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. Once again, thank you for watching, and this is Gundam HQ, signing off.